Alright everybody, it's Friday, which means that it's time for the Gaytriarchy live stream. Now, unfortunately, I made a really horrible mistake last week. I started drinking some beers on air, which I don't really do anymore, and apparently when I start drinking alcohol, I just get totally dumb, and I started playing footage of, like, shirtless men to show to feral cat, guys who I thought were hot. And somehow or other, I showed something that was copywritten, and it actually gave the Gaytriarchy channel a strike, and now we can't stream for like 3 months. So the Gaytriarchy is going to be on Saint of Bacon's channel. He's in my related channel section. Go subscribe to him if you want to check it out, or subscribe to him anyway. We will be over there. We have a guest named Lord of Cancer, aka Jewish Bi Guy, aka he is just 22, and he's actually pretty cute. And he will sometimes show us pictures of himself with his shirt off or in his underwear. So, just saying. I'm not sure what he wants to talk about tonight, and I'm not sure what we're all going to be talking about overall. That being said, I was thinking about this. I just finished reading this book, Red Feminism, which is a horribly boring read, but it has so much information. Like, every content creator that talks about intersectional feminism and everything on YouTube should force themselves to read this book, but trust me, it will take you at least a month to get through, probably. I mean, I don't read very quickly, personally, because I like to really make sure I am properly filing every piece of what I'm reading into my memory, and since it's a historical text with a lot of footnotes, it's just really, really dense and really, really boring, and it's written by an actual feminist academic. And so she's not a good writer, even. Like, David Horowitz writes books that are dense and have a lot of footnotes and give a lot of really good historical information, but he's also a good writer. So you can at least, like, read the book. But this one, no. This one is horrible. You have to order it from the factory. Like, I don't know if they print it on the fly for you. But one of the things that she talked about, and I think that David Horowitz probably is what they called red diaper babies, which are children that were born of basically communist parents during the Cold War, probably during the baby boom, especially like children that were born during the 50s and 60s and grew up to be young people that were involved in things like the Vietnam War protests. And so the red diaper babies were probably boomers. They're probably born in the 50s. That's probably what makes the most sense. And they were basically radical activists that were raised by people who were communists. But the thing is that communists had to stop openly identifying as communists because of the McCarthy era, because of the embarrassment of Stalinism and how awful it actually was in the Soviet Union. And so the children of these communist people, they called red diaper babies because they were raised with the same communist ethos stuff. Like, they were raised to basically dislike capitalism and to try to, you know, it wasn't all bad. That's the interesting thing, really looking at all of it. They did have a lot to say about the civil rights movement and stuff that was good. They weren't explicitly pro-homosexual. That was not a part of their ideology at all, actually. And in fact, they rejected homosexuality, I know for a fact, because people like Harry Hay, the guy who is credited as coining the phrase radical fairy, he used to be a communist, and he split off from the Communist Party because he was homosexual. And, you know, the communists actually believed homosexuality to be a sign of bourgeois capitalism, and Fidel Castro was rounding homosexuals up and putting them into concentration camps. So that part of the civil rights movement was not in the communist ethos. But the red diaper babies ended up growing up to become far leftist activists, and eventually they, gravitated more and more to Marxism, and they actually marched with communists, and it never really went away. It just never went away. It was the same thing, rebranded, the same idea that we can create everybody to be equal by forcing it, and that everything will be better that way. That's sort of how the red diaper babies thought. And David Horowitz, the author of Unholy Alliance, like I like to bring him up a lot because I really, really like his historical accounts of things. Like, he tells you what you need to know and why you need to know it, and he can tell it from both sides because he grew up as a red diaper baby. He literally was, like, one of the most radical red diaper babies. Like, his parents were housing people who, I think it was somebody who was trying to hide from Stalin or something like that, or like an East German refugee in their basement, like some sort of communist organizer or something like that. So he was as hardcore of a red diaper baby as you can get, and he worked with the Black Panthers, and then he eventually came out of it, I guess because they killed his friend. She was an accountant, and I assumed that they wanted her to cook the books for some sort of fraudulent money that they were getting, and she wouldn't do it, so they killed her. And he stopped being a part of the radical left. But these red diaper babies, they grew up into people, I've known a lot of them. Definitely. I've definitely known a lot of people who are like this. And a lot of them are actually really nice people. Like, they're not necessarily actually Marxists. They don't think that they are. They were just raised by Marxists, and the Marxists that raised them largely wouldn't even explicitly tell them that they were Marxists. So they just have all these, like, ethos about equality and crap like that. Like, they just think that that's a good thing, and that, men shouldn't be rude to their wives, and that men should do housework, and just things like that. That's just sort of a part of their culture. But what I'm thinking is that as the red diaper babies aged, and then there was the sort of the era that I was born in, the Gen Xers and the early millennials like myself. I was born in 82, so I'm at the end of being technically a millennial. We like to call ourselves, there's all sorts of names for the age that I am. I like the name the Oregon Trail generation because there was this computer game called the Oregon Trail, and that was in the era when we had computers in all of our classrooms, but the computers were not hooked up to the internet. And that there was only about 5 years where that really was, where that was probably really the case. 5-10 years. I don't know. And it was just this crappy computer game that we all played. The Oregon Trail is such a bad game. Oh my god, it's so bad. That being said, the red diaper babies gave birth to people like myself, and maybe I would be considered something like a pink diaper baby. Like, it was this hand-me-down, sort of like regurgitated. I'm like, okay, so I'm supposed to be a leftist, I guess, but, my dad was a communist in the 1950s, and he stopped being a communist, and my mom was a total red diaper baby in the way that she didn't, like, consider herself a communist necessarily, but she certainly is into all sorts of stuff that's like that and doesn't necessarily connect the dots about where it all comes from and what it all means. Bless her heart. So that being said, I think that after the pink diaper babies like myself, guys that are like 36, a little bit older, maybe, something like we could call people that were born in the mid 70s pink diaper babies, probably. They were the kids of the red diaper babies. And if they had kids that were also leftists, those kids, a lot of them, those are the Antifas. Those are the kids that it's just become this religious assumption that's been passed down through the ages that capitalism is bad, white males are bad, America is bad. Do they know why? No. They haven't researched anything. They don't read books. They don't actually watch YouTube videos. They don't even read the cliff notes of anything. They just hear other people talking about it at parties and stuff, and they think that they're anarchists. I've known so many people like this. I've met them. Some of them are actually my age. That's the really embarrassing thing. So, the kids of the pink diaper babies, I think we should call them black diaper babies. And it's because they're just completely nihilistic. Like, they don't know anything besides their own hatred. They simply just hate the white male capitalist patriarchy, which is, turns out, they think that that's everything. They think that literally all of human civilization is run by white men, including Asia, somehow, according to them. Even though, you know, if you look at the lists of the top 10 richest countries on Earth, something like 6 of them are in Asia. Like, most of them are, like, the top ones, last I looked, the top ones were in Asia. And it's just so funny. It's so funny to think about how wrong about everything the black diaper babies are. But I think that's what we should call them. And they're black diaper babies. All right, watch the Gaytriarchy 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to try to... I want to crank out a video about Kanye, but I keep getting sucked into stuff, and I have other work to be working on. I'm very busy right now. Okay, bye.